Hello, my name is Nini White, and I am the founder of the Kids Own Wisdom approach to social emotional learning and life skills development. Do you ever question your decision to become a teacher? I mean, it is so incredibly challenging, yet we know that it can be so rewarding when we get it right, right? When we get it right, we get to make a real difference in our students' lives, a difference that we sometimes see immediately. And if we've really done our job right, a difference that carries through outside our classroom, onto the playground, into students' home life, even into their futures beyond school. I believe all teachers want some version of being that kind of a positive influence on today's youth. It was certainly my own motivation when I became a teacher, because I never had a teacher like that when I was a kid. I I was always confused and disappointed by the fact that none of my teachers seemed like they wanted to do anything more than tell me what to do or tell me what I should be learning from them. It didn't seem like any of my teachers saw me as an actual person, a unique individual, someone who mattered. So, the Kids Own Wisdom approach seeks to increase teachers' success with this essential challenge, despite overcrowded classrooms and never quite enough time. So, what exactly is the Kids Own Wisdom approach? It's a facilitated social emotional learning approach that gets kids discovering and independently using their own solutions for their own big and small challenges in the classroom, on the playground, and beyond. And the best part is, it's an approach that really does make school time easier for teachers and better for kids. Let's look more closely at the unique, important elements of the Kids Own Wisdom approach. Number one, it's a facilitated approach. In other words, the Kids Own Wisdom approach is not an approach that teaches to children. Why? Because teachers and parents are teaching and instructing children already, all the time. Don't need another teaching approach. At a certain point, starting by 3.5 or 4 years of age, children need to, want to, and deserve to discover and express their own understanding about their own challenges. And when they receive consistent opportunities to discover and express their own understanding about their own challenges, their learning and their understanding gain deep roots. This is how understanding gets remembered and used, with less and less reminders from teachers and parents. And this also explains why the Kids Own Wisdom approach is easier for kids, teachers, and it is better for kids. Another important element of the Kids Own Wisdom approach is that it is facilitated with groups of kids. Why? Because how often have you noticed that young kids pay as much or more attention to other kids than they do to the adults in their lives? Is it a lack of respect? No, not really, even though it can look like that sometimes. It's because kids just naturally relate to each other's experiences, explanations, and perspectives. I mean, you remember when you were a kid, right? Once we understand and accept this natural fact of life, then we can work with it to everyone's benefit and advantage, kids and ours. When groups of kids engage in well designed, facilitated peer group discussions, they experience the validity of their own perspective by expressing themselves and being listened to in a focused manner within the group. Likewise, when children discover by listening to their peers' focused self expression around problems to which they all relate, they all learn that they all pretty much share feelings and values that they probably did not know that they shared before those facilitated experiences. And this really is how understanding gets reinforced, remembered, and used with less and less reminders from us. Yet another important element of the Kids Own Wisdom approach is that it is preemptive. In other words, it is not reactive. It is not implemented in direct response to the challenges with which they're all familiar. There are powerful advantages to providing children with well-designed, preemptive opportunities for discovering and expressing their own solutions for their own challenges. And those advantages include number one, no one feels the need to defend themselves because the discussions are purely objective about familiar situations and challenges. Number two, emotions are relatively settled. So, as the current brain science of learning explains, the logical part of students' brains can more fully engage with the peer group discussion. Of course, it is our responsibility to teach kids about street safety, about sharing and playing fair, about not pushing, about not whispering in front of others, about using inside voices instead of outside voices in the classroom, about being someone that other kids want to play with and be friends with. The thing is, instead of repeatedly correcting um, children's behavior, facilitating is like opening a big, bright window for our students, then showing them where to look, but not telling them what to see. Facilitation is a completely different approach from teaching, so let's clarify a few of the essential differences between the two. Teaching information flows mainly from in one direction, teacher to students. With facilitating, information ideas flow to and from many directions, students to students and students to facilitator and facilitator to students, but mostly not so much the facilitator to the students. In teaching, the focus is mainly on specific answers from students. In facilitating, there is an encouragement and acknowledgement of different perspectives and contributions. Teaching, the structure is more formal with teacher in control. Facilitators are considered equal in the learning process, developing trust through mutual respect, resulting in an accumulation of often unforeseen win-win results. The right kinds of questions are one of the essential keys to successful facilitation because questions draw attention to where it needs to be drawn without boxing in single answers or limiting students' ability to collaborate with their own insights, their own unique expressions of intelligence, which, as I've said before, is how their understanding becomes reinforced, remembered, and used. Okay, so we need to ask the right kinds of questions to get kids engaged and collaborating around answers that work for and make sense to everyone. What are the right kinds of questions? The right kinds of questions SOAR. And SOAR is an acronym for stretching awareness, open-ended, age-appropriately challenging, relevant, and respectful. There is so much I could explain about soaring questions, but I'll save that for another time rather than overload you with too much information. Please just know that much more information is available with validating research that perfectly aligns with the brain science of learning, which describes 4 activities that must occur in the brain for real learning to occur. And we're describing and referring to real learning as that which is actually remembered and independently used without constant reminders. Those 4 activities are new information is taken in, that new information connects with previous experiences understanding. Next, the brain goes to work formulating new understanding and oftentimes fresh conclusions. Finally, for real learning to occur, which is actually remembered and independently used without constant reminders, something we all want, yes, is action is required. Fortunately, action is a big bucket. It includes verbal expression, according to the brain science of learning. So, in addition to perfectly aligning with the brain science of learning, the Kids' Own Wisdom approach also perfectly aligns with the best and most highly regarded of educational theory, both classic and contemporary. Socrates is well known for saying, "I cannot teach my students anything, I can only make them think." And yes, he used questions to make his students think. John Dewey wrote, Education is not an affair of telling and being told, but an active and constructive process. Dewey went into greater detail about the science of child development by explaining that knowledge is created through experience rather than passed down from teacher to student. Soviet psychologist Lev Vygotsky, who developed the concept of the zone of proximal development, proved that students learn better through collaborative, meaningful problem-solving activities than through solo exercises. According to Dr. Lillian Katz, children should experience the feeling of belonging and being welcomed, the feeling of being taken seriously in their opinions and observations, so they have an authentic feeling of success because they understand something deeply, better and more deeply. Dr. Katz also encourages that teachers engage students in continuous contingent interactions with young children, because recent brain research has shown that highly advantageous neurological connections are created when children engage in extended, meaningful, back and forth interactions where one person's response is contingent on what the other has to say. Bottom line, learning with will always enrich and substantiate learning from. Because kids will always be interested in and influenced by each other. So why not harness that fact of life for everyone's well-being and happy progress? And when I say everyone's well-being, I mean theirs and yours. So there you have it, a brief introduction to the Kids Own Wisdom approach that gets groups of kids preemptively and collaboratively discovering and using their own solutions for their own challenges. And just in case you're wondering, yes, there is a learning curve for teachers, but it mostly has to do with letting go of always being the center of instructions in order to maintain a sense of control. But don't worry, facilitation never needs to look like this. In fact, teachers' actual success path looks much more like this. And since the use of this approach provides pretty much immediate rewards and benefits, this success path unfolds much more rapidly than you might at first be imagining. So please do feel free to pause this video if you'd like to read the details of each step along the way of this realistic and evidence-based success path. Yes, we offer an online training course so that you can enjoy more of what inspired you to become a teacher. This course is also ideal for parents at cooperative preschools, by the way. Contact us if you're interested in the course, but if you're not quite ready for the course, you might still enjoy the podcast. It's called the Not Your Normal Social Emotional Learning Podcast. There are lots of ideas to get your wheels spinning and wonderful interviews with incredibly inspiring teachers as well. Or maybe you want to learn about the COW approach for a specific behavior challenge. Whatever you need, we really hope you'll reach out. We'd love to answer any questions you have. Until then, take care.